topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello and welcome to the new episode of Mindfulness in Action. My name is Dalida Turkovic and I am going to have two really dear guests today. They are calling in from Ukraine, and one is also my colleague. We have worked together and served board of EAMBA, Earth Alliance of Mindfulness Associations, and Maryna Chychuha is a psychotherapist, and she is MBSR, MBCT and MSC teacher. And also we are going to be joining with Khrystyna Kolesnyk, who is a clinical psychologist and MBSR teacher. And I'm so touched that they found the time to join us. We will have Khrystyna play a double role. She's going to be also supporting with English at times when it's necessary. But without further ado, I would really just like all of us to welcome both of them. And
hello.
Hi.
Hello, nice to see you.
Very nice to see you indeed. And it's just as we were getting ready to jump in on the call, Khrystyna, I heard that you were wondering about the sound and the background, and you were sharing that your neighbors are renovating, and it's absolutely amazing for me to start with that kind of information. And I'm from former Yugoslavia, and the experience of war is also very close to me, although it happened some 30 years ago before I ran away. I couldn't deal with it. And so here you are, both of you. You are in Ukraine. You're supporting the community with professionally and personally, I believe, as well. And today we are going to really talk about that element of how to remain steady under fire. And I'm going to be asking questions, which is basically the question for both of you. And I would love to hear both of your perspectives. Before we start with my questions, would you like to share anything personally on about where you are, your personal state of mind right now?
I am I live in Kyiv, in Ukraine, in Kyiv. But now I'm in another region. This is not Kyiv, this is my parents' house. And this is more safety place.
All right, wonderful. And Khrystyna, where are you calling in from?
And for me, I'm in Lviv now. It's 50 kilometers to Polish border, and during the war, it's a long period of time. I also was in Poland, so I have two experience of trying to run and coming back. But here I'm in Lviv, and Dalida, thank you for hosting this and having us with Maryna.
Yes. As we are colleagues and on the cushion, we are really sharing the love for the practice, but the idea here is really to bring the reality of how mindfulness supports us, but not as a skill, as a meditation, but as how it cultivated our mindset already. So when situations like what you're going through now for 3 years is really how it's supporting you. So I'd like to start with the first question, and maybe if you both could go to 1 week before it was official that the war started. What would you share with your past self?
It was 4 4 years ago.
4 years, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, 4 years, but not 4 years. I would like to say from 2014.
Right, of course. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
For Kiev and other region, yeah, it was full Khrystyna full scale повномасштабно
Так, full scale.
full scale war. Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, 4 years ago. Yeah. And now it wasn't easy. Of course, it's too difficult and too hard. But we are strong people.
You are strong people indeed. I mean, and you look at that smile as well. Of course, life goes on. I mean, I remember when the war was being announced in Yugoslavia. That was in 1992. And I remember just as if it was yesterday, I was with my sister and my father was watching a football game. And suddenly he asked all of us to just be quiet. My father was an officer, he's retired now. And suddenly he asked us all to be quiet, and it came on the news. And the moment he saw it, it didn't even announce yet, and he just went and picked up his uniform. And we were looking, what is going on? And they announced the war started. My sister and I laughed. I was 22 years old. It was summer. And we were like, oh my God, these boys, testosterone, like it's just ridiculous. It's that kind of mindset. We were so naive. And we thought like, when the winter comes and snow comes, they will just all for sure just stop fighting because it's going to be just way too cold. And of course, it just went on for, like 10 years or so. And it resulted in collapse of the country, Yugoslavia, no more, right? So, Khrystyna, how was it for you? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I remember, it was actually, if you can recall the time, it was kind of that they announced like at 16th of February the war should start, and there was no 16. And I don't know, it's maybe because my mind is very playful, I would say, that I had this, the meme where the Mr. Bean is like waiting somewhere at the field, like with the yellow flowers, and like, where is the war? Where is the war? And it was kind of like we were told that might be a war, but then like some people left, some people stayed. There was a kind of the general idea that we would better stay, or why to run, nothing would happen. There were different ideas. I myself, I had this emergency backpack with the documents, kind of money, I don't know, something, hamsters. We had 2 hamsters at the time. And I was like, the main thought, I would say, the day before, I was packing a bigger bag, and my thought process was about, should I pack the skirt and the dress, or it would be like I will be a refugee and I then need like a winter I don't know, like more practical. But I like the skirt, I wanted to have it like, I don't want to have it trousers and Skechers and etc. So that was my actual thinking there. But from this standpoint, actually, the it's really horrible that it's war. And even when you mentioned the war in Yugoslavia, I remember I recall it when I was a kid, listening to the news about that, and it was horrible to listen. Even I was not witnessing myself, and not be a participant or affected party then. But like from this standpoint, I would say that I would share with myself only maybe two things: that please don't be afraid, and another is like, don't let the hatred fool your heart. Because at some point there was a lot of talks of like, oh, these Russians and etc. And everything we need to do is just kill Putin and etc. But now in 4 years, I understand like there might be another Putin, and there will be probably another, I would say, not a nation, but another people who can be caught in some ideas or ideologies and fighting with one another. And you see what happening now. And this is like, for me, it's just two ideas: not to be too much afraid or get into hatred, because it's very hard to live with two of these. And I would put the skirt and the dress, actually, to enjoy the life and enjoy the dress.
Yes. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing about that. Maryna, what is the message for you?
I remember the day 4 years ago. I was alone in Kiev, and it was so scary. It was so scary. I woke up at 5 p.m. Because of explosion, and I remember I said, "Oh my God!" And my sister, then she lived in Kherson, close to Kherson. It wasn't Kherson. This is south of Ukraine, and she she called me, and she said the war started. And I remember I packed my two suitcase, luggage, two big luggage, and I leave Kiev that morning. It was so fast. And if I could, I think I would say to myself, it will be scary. It will be difficult, but you will deal with this. You can find some ways to cope with everything, and you will be you won't be alone, and everything will be okay, and even you will help people, not to yourself.
Right. How is it to manage yourself in such a state when you have a profession which is naturally a helping profession, and of course you would be there to support people with mental health issues anyway, and in that situation is almost a miracle if like if people are dealing with something, it's like, of course, right, they would say, abnormal response to abnormal situation is a normal response, right? So how do you balance that, this part where you're encouraging yourself not to be afraid, to know that you're strong and even help people, and also offer your presence with people who are perhaps having less capacity to do that?
It's it's scary. This is and so difficult. And when I live in Kiev, I can sleep okay, and of course, this is not good for me, for my health, for my job. But we try to have some time for rest. I like traveling so much. We have Carpathian Mountains. Is this correct? Carpathian Mountains. It's so beautiful place, and other beautiful city. And I like to travel for weekend when I have a holidays. And every day, every weekend, I try to find some resources for me, and this is help me to be okay, and to help people.
Wonderful, Khrystyna.
And for me, I would say that it's kind of, I would say, a stereotype that we should have more resources than our clients. And sometimes in even facing the traumas and events, our clients might be even bigger teachers for us, I would say. And, for me, it was some cases that I kind of met my limits in this work. Like kind of before that, I hadn't met such limits. Like maybe I knew, I like this topic, or I'm more proficient in that topic. But at the moment, then you can see, okay, if you are, I don't know, not sleeping well, have no electricity, how you can perform well, then okay, so what I need to do to help myself. And then you do, as Maryna mentioned then. But also another thing that, it's also why we in the profession, because we obviously like to help people. And in the time where you're most useful, because sometimes I don't know, in our profession might be very, I would say, ordinary at some point. Sorry for saying that. Like, let's say, general questions through the lifetime, changes, I don't know, the existential crisis, divorces, and etc. But here we have all the same. And like, I don't know, like how in Maryna's practice, in my practice, people are usually dealing with all the life and the problems of the life with the background of the war. So they have on the top of everything the war. Sometimes, rarely, the war is itself the problem. But it's also very motivating when you work with such a person. Like, you really into the process and etc. So it's and I would say that we needed to learn fast. Like first 3 months and first year, we had a biggest, I would say, learning period when we need to, okay, I don't know how to work with prisoners of war. Will I go into that field or not? Sexual violence, will I go and work with that or not? Like, and then you also can discover more about yourself. Who are you as a psychologist? So I would say we grow, we know better our limits, and still sometimes we just know we have shared reality. We are at the same shared reality that are the people who are addressing for support.
Yeah, so it's a common humanity at its peak, basically, when there is such a shared reality. And how does psychotherapy and maybe teaching mindfulness come into play? Do you teach people mindfulness as one way of like coping skills? You're both teachers,
yeah,
as well, right? Yeah. How does that work?
Can I jump in then? So we had our MBSR teacher course that Maryna participated. The first teacher course for Ukrainian teachers to start before the war, like it was scheduled. I believe it should be March 2022, and then it was suddenly, disrupted. Our plans were ruined, and etc. And going through all of these, each of us was, having, like, I don't know, surviving somehow. And then we were asking our organizing team, like, when we were waiting for it, and etc. And then I would say for me was the best part of the first year of war, our shared group when we started. It was kind of everything was the same, but it was better. Like, you add the spices to the food, like salt and pepper, and just life started being different. And teaching and doing psychotherapy in the time of war, it was partially, we were stuck in the old models, kind of, okay, we have this work with PTSD. What do you do when you have old trauma, like 10 years old? And okay, you do this protocol, but like what we had the actual trauma on the go, not finished, and we need to process something. And when clients addressed that, we also needed to address that as well. We cannot say, like, come to us in 10 years, like, and then we can follow this EMDR protocol or something. So I would say at some point we understood that we are building the plane while it flies, and I would say get proficient in that. I cannot speak for all of our colleagues, but I think that the pressure of the circumstances itself works like that. And regarding MBSR, it just, I would say, the great source of joy, and the feeling of how you can be peaceful and calm in the storm. So I would say it's burnout prevention and something that we love doing. And there are some problems in that, while like red alerts might come on during the practice, or dangerous places where people stay in. Sometimes, the military personnel ask, can you teach us that? And sometimes there are ethics questions, like, should you teach soldiers during the service or not? Like, is it peaceful or not peaceful, and etc. But it's still very on edge and living, I would say. So we have very living practice, I believe, in Ukraine. Maryna, what do you think?
I would like to say about maybe every our MBSR course or MSC, Mindful Self-Compassion, is trauma sensitive course, and we use mindfulness practice in psychotherapy a lot of too. And we did research in autumn, and I can share a little bit. This research was about how mindfulness practice help our participants, and our participants were people who took part in MBSR course. It was autumn research we did autumn. So who took part in MBSR course 3 months or 6 months, 1 year, and 3 years earlier. And I can share a little bit because this is so interesting.
So this research is now finalized, right? Like,
yeah,
these are the results now, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And our participants reported several positive changes, including greater emotional balance, reduced anxiety, better sleep and more self-compassion. They also described better relationship, clearly boundaries, and improved concentration and effectiveness at work. One of the key findings was that mindfulness doesn't remove stress, it changes how people respond to it. Our participants reported learning to pause before reacting, notice stress signals in the body earlier, and recover quickly after difficult situation. And many also noted that these benefits persist and even deepen over time, supporting resilience in situation of uncertainty. Невизначеність, Khrystyna, uncertainty.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I mean, like the research, it is just confirming the general research that already exists. But now in these kind of situations, to know that actually people were keeping their practice, and something that comes up for me a lot is understanding that once when we really have hardship in life, it's easier to stay close to the practice. What I realize that a lot of times that those who are trying to prevent stress without really going through a major life changes, and they think that if I'm practicing mindfulness, there will be no stress at all. And then at a certain point, they come and say, well, it's not working because here I have stress, right? I find it fascinating that the group was also staying. I mean, you're saying 3 months, 6 months, but also now it's up to 3 years, right? Like the completion of the cycle, right?
Yes, they took part in a course 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would here maybe add something that was when we were finishing our course, there was John Kabat-Zinn visiting us and wishing them good luck with everything. And we were actually asking the same question after the year of the course, the teacher's course. And then we were asking, okay, how you would perceive the practice, should it help during the war? And, I remember his words, and now I can relate to that. Like, if it's not, like, then it's useless. Like, you should not practice if it's not helped during the war, you should not practice it at all. And I would even say, how the practice itself changed a bit. I personally noticed that there are this I would say movement practice and embodied presence, like during your everything. You can be even mindful during the a red alarm. Then okay, it's just the alarm. It's just the alarm. Then what I do with that? Should I go into the shelter? Should I not? Should I sleep? Like, you can even, it's kind of the bell of this mindfulness every time. It can remind you, okay, what I should do with that. And it's also, we have a lot of reminders in terms of that. Like, I think Maryna has more in Kyiv. We in Lviv have less, but it's also, what I have personally noticed, that when the circumstances are more challenging, I would prefer better rely on practice more. And with rely on practice more, not on the sit-in practice, but on walking meditation or like mindful presence at anything, like you can be in the shelter with your family, but then, or during the blackout with your family, or during the celebration of your birthday with your family, and still be more present, because the closer death is possible. It's just you understand how precious the life is. Every moment, every brand new 24 hours, they can be more joyful for you. So that's how I now also perceive that it's, we have these constant reminders how precious our lives are.
How did the perspective or it's not a perspective, your relationship to death and dying shift through this process? Has it changed?
Please.
Відношення до
Can you
смерті,
translate?
relationship for dying and death. Maybe also for me easy because I just finished on that point and give Maryna some time. So then I would say that just this kind of the feeling on edge, but it gives so much more, the life is so much more precious, I would say. And then death is just very plain then event. It's the same at birth, I would say, but not so pleasant, and we don't know actually what then will be. So it just might be a reminder, that for me, and it's also like more like no coming, no going. So like, and when, for instance, I don't know, rocket hits today and I disappear, so then how I can be in that moment without fear and the hatred, for instance, that this energy will not continue next, and I don't know, next generations, and I don't know, universe will not got that. So I mean, it just like, for me, it's shifted completely. It's just more ease event, I would say. It's something that I cannot prepare for, but if it comes, I will be ready and meet it with peace, I hope.
For this, yes, we learned to value our life and this moment. And a lot of people, as me, I know, and say they do some things they never did it, and some people do business, some traveling, some just enjoy this moment with kids. So this is about life.
Yeah. I also remember it was 1999 when there was bombing of Belgrade. So I left when the war started in Bosnia, but I was already in China in 1999. And when I was talking to people, they were sharing that those were some of the best times of their life. And what was really interesting, because there was so much conflict in the whole region, and there were refugees and people with different background, and it was really confusing. We didn't know, I was born in Slovenia, my father is Croatian, mother Serbian, and you end up being completely confused, right? But people felt they were together. These differences were not there anymore. And this sense of belonging, of again, like we talk about the common humanity, is like, gave such strength and somehow this power as well. I remember talking to my parents, and they were saying, we are going to stand on the bridge. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because they were bombing bridges in Belgrade. There are two rivers, and it was almost announced that they will bomb bridges. So my parents were going on the bridge, and I'm like, but no, you should go on the shelter. And it's like, no. Like, this is the moment. We stand on the bridge, we defend. I know what I'm living and what I'm dying for. And it's such a strength. It's unimaginable for someone who didn't really go through that. what is that? Is that the adrenaline rush? Is that the collective consciousness, or it's how does that relate to stress, for example? What would be different between these scenarios when you say we just celebrate life, and where is that versus PTSD, or is that about the mindset or life experience?
I
I don't
think
know if
it's
that
about
is
life
clear. Yeah.
experience.
Mm.
It's about life experience, because when the war started, maybe many people didn't realize what is going on, and didn't want to leave their house. But now they have a lot of life experience, and we want to live, and we want to have calm life and enjoy our life, because this is our life, and 4 years. This is so valuable.
Yeah.
You know, I also think that we might be adjusting to some kind of the stress, you know, like when it was the first day of the war, you remember, because it was clear before and after. But now, you know, if it's like the next bombing, you're like, oh yeah, they will finish like in 30 minutes, and then I can go to the bathroom, or having when to wash your hair, for instance, like, or, oh, okay, you have a blackout. Okay, but when I will have light like in 2 hours. When I do, then okay, then I plan my laundry at that time, or how I cook the food, and etc. I would say that what people can adjust is enormous. And I know in a lot of in Georgia as well, when it was the war, people were cooking, you know, having this like ovens, or kind of the ovens like with fire outside, and gathering together with neighbors, and they also claim that it's were the happiest moment ever in their life. I would also say that you, like for me, and what I notice in people with whom I work and just hear, that we kind of get accustomed a bit to the what danger means, you know, and sometimes it's also have a like a bad habits, like a dangerous driving, or etc. Or, you know, this also feeling of living the life once, it's also gets sharpened, like you have no other opportunity. So you want to divorce, you divorce. You want to have 5 kids, go ahead. You want to switch your career, do it now. Like it's also kind of reminder you don't have too much time, so you then decide, and this danger. But it's just, you know, it was the first time when it just started, it was a lot of this, I would say, adrenaline. And I remember the period when first people were like, we will doing the stuff, and we'll be very hard working without no weekends, no vacations, until the war is won. And it was like kind of 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. And I was like, kind of, maybe I can have a weekend or vacation, or baptize the child, or celebration of my wedding, because it also was kind of that at first it was not kind of culturally appropriate. Like, what do you want to celebrate your birthday? You have a war, like focus on that. And I was like, yeah, I have a war, but I also have a birthday, and that's why it will be fun. That will be very fun birthday. And I would say that's the contrast of all this, you know, coming and together. Yeah.
Mhm. You know, like I'm thinking now, I mean, when I heard the news, I felt like my trauma resurfaced. I literally panicked. It felt so close when I was actually attending. It was a teacher training in Hakomi, in mindfulness-based somatic therapy, and I was assisting in the group. And I really felt like it was so close to home. I was in China, And then as I came back a little bit over a year ago to Europe, and I had a chance to travel around and maybe talk a little bit more to people from Western Europe as well. I'm sensing this fear peaking at times, and the sense of and like what I'm hearing from you is becoming a little bit like, well, normalizing it, right? What can you do? It is like you grow with the experience, but what could you share for people who are really watching Ukraine, and we have new wars coming in, obviously. It feels like it's spreading around the world. You already shared a lot of messages. But perhaps maybe for mindfulness practitioners and psychotherapists particularly, what message would you have for them? How to prepare?
I think this is difficult to understand, or I don't know, not understand, to realize that problems. And if somebody told me how it will be, I don't know, but I think it would be so difficult to realize the whole of situation. Yeah, but this is so exhausting. I live in Kyiv for 18 years, but I mean these 4 years, and when we have massive attacks, and twice a week, 3 times a week, and more, or this is so hard, and especially when we have a problem with electricity, trouble with electricity. So I don't know to say, because for example, when we have a missile, Khrystyna балістика, я не знаю, чи так воно, missile,
Maybe like ballistics,
ballistics,
rocket
when we have
attacks, like very, very quick, like 3 seconds.
3, 5, maybe 7 minutes. And could you imagine, I live on 19th floor and we don't have electricity. I have to go down, and it will take more than 5 minutes, and I have to go to the shelters, and this is can be so often, can be often, and of course it's exhausting, but maybe I would like to say not be alone, and you know, our people are so kind, and they help each other, and this is so valuable, because if you know you are not alone, and there are people who help you, this is so important. And to find ways to cope with it. Khrystyna?
Yeah, if I may add, I have a lot. I have written some notes, but the most important for me, I felt at some moment a bit prepared why I have this bag and this skirt and documents back, because actually we had the information. And probably, for these who are already anxious about that, if I put myself in their shoes, it just feels like the world is not a secure place, like kind of anymore, but it never was. There are a lot of conflicts, a lot of wars, like 20, 40 years, like look at Vietnam and etc., what happens in Africa. I just would say I was lucky enough, now I perceive I was lucky enough not to meet that in my lifetime before some time. Now I would say, yeah, I'm also still lucky enough to be alive during and go through that. Maybe I didn't choose to do that, but it happened to me. And what I do with that, like I would say, key recipes are, because also the practice, for me, the best idea is know that anything could happen. That was the message for me that from people who were in Crimea, and Crimea, as you know, was annexed. So they shared this message. So like you kind of need to be flexible. Your mind can be flexible enough to understand that anything could happen. Like you imagine that you would have this lifetime and things will go like that, like that, like that, but it could be totally different. And the more you kind of let the thought soak and sink, and then okay, anything could happen. What I do this, and this, for instance. Then next, I would say that get better knowing your no fear zone, because like this anxiety and a lot of thoughts and a lot of stories we make up, they are feeding just our fear. Like what if that, what happens with my kids, what happens with my family, with my dog, with my flat, with my money, with everything. And with my like, I don't know, the repairment my neighbor's still doing, but like kind of surrendering to the no fear. Like what if I am not afraid? And we have a lot of people share, even in captivity as a prisoners of war on the battlefield. Sometimes you kind of have, I would say, in the games you may have this invincibility, kind of like I like now letting, like I don't fear anymore. Like physically it might be something going on, but mentally kind of you tell your body and your emotions, like this is place of no fear. This is the place, like anything may happen, but I will stand here like your parents on the bridge. Like we decide actually, and we may be dead, but we decide what we do with our life. Kind of you're not like you do still something with it, like yeah, but it's kind of something you can do and you live it. And I would say also the on the top of that no fear, keep showing up for your life. Like then you don't like wait, when the war ends I will do this and this, because like it may not happen. That's the biggest like lesson and teaching for me. Like if you want to do something, like really do it now. You want to buy it, you want to build a house, you want to have a kid, like go on. Like, and this is very liberating moment. It's like also this no fear and joy for the life. And also something we didn't mention now, but it's about the people, because the war is a man-made conflict. And like as a psychologist, we know that sometimes it's worse. If to compare the hurricane or etc., you just can say, oh yeah, it was so unsafe when there was hurricane, and might be another hurricane, but kind of you don't need to build a relationship with a lot of hurricanes or floods or I don't know, that earthquakes. But eventually you as a human being, you need to build a relationship with other human beings. And after being, I don't know, in the war, which is man-made disaster, you can be very hateful and angry towards towards yourself being a human. So I would say, like, the biggest message in, like, don't lose hope, and there are still kind people. And regarding this, don't lose hope, there was the one teacher, Tina Han, who is also have survived Vietnamese war. He shared the story, which I have heard before the war in Ukraine started. So someday people came to him. There was a village, I don't recall the name, but it was destroyed by the bomb. And then he says, and people asking him, what do we do? Should we rebuild it or not? Because it will be destroyed again. And he's like, yeah, you should rebuild. And it was destroyed six times. And then people from that village and the lay people who were also practitioners come and say, we are so hopeless about that. Should we do that again? Should we rebuild? And he shared, his own thinking process. Like, if I say no, I would plant a seed of hopelessness, of the despair. And like, is it good seed to live with? And he said, no, the war is impermanent, and finally it will end. And then we should rebuild the village for people to live in. So I think this story, that's the best message, what we should do in the case of war going bigger and bigger.
Maryna and Khrystyna, thank you so much for sharing all the wisdom, embodied wisdom. And this is it for today's show. We might meet again as well, hopefully soon. This is Mindfulness in Action. My name is Dalida Turkovic, and we'll see you next time.